Howdy, y'all. Today I am going to attempt to make hummus, homemade hummus for the first time. The first thing that I had to do was get some chickpeas, some dried chickpeas, and this is 16 ounces. Although my recipe is for 8 ounces, I'm going to double everything and do the 16 ounces because that's what I soaked, so that's what I've got ready, so I'm just going to make a double batch. But the recipe I'll be presenting is for 8 ounces of dried chickpeas. So I have my water here, and to this water, this was about somewhere between 8 and 10 cups of fresh filtered water. I added 2.5 tablespoons of kosher salt, and I just mixed and mixed that until it dissolved really good. And then I added my cleaned and sorted dried chickpeas to the salted water, and it said to let it sit overnight. So I did this at 10 a.m. yesterday, so it has been more than 24 hours. So I'm sure it suggested at least 12 hours or overnight. So these have soaked in the salted cold water for, well, it's been over a day. So I think they're ready to go. So the next step is to take these chickpeas and drain them through a colander and then rinse them really good. So that's what I'm going to do next. Okay, so the chickpeas have been drained and thoroughly rinsed, and they are ready to go into the cooking pot. So in the cooking pot, I have 10 cups of fresh filtered water and a half of a teaspoon of baking soda. So that's what's going on right here, and I'm going to bring that to a boil. And when this is boiling, I'm going to add the chickpeas. So we just have to wait for this to boil, and in the meantime, I'll go over some of the ingredients. Okay, so to make homemade hummus, the ingredients are pretty simple. First and foremost, you will need chickpeas. This is the packaging it came in at my store. I bought these at Walmart Supercenter. And they'll have to be soaked, of course. This is what they look like after they've been soaked and drained. And from what I've been reading about them, this is the first time I've ever bought them or prepared them at home. But from what I've been reading, if you have a selection, which I didn't, this was the only kind available. But if you do have a selection, the smaller the chickpea, the better. Seems to be the rule here. You'll also need kosher salt and baking soda. And you'll need tahini. Now, I found this in the squeezable um, container like this, which seems really handy, but usually it seems to come in a container like peanut butter. And I had a hard time finding tahini, but I did finally find this, which kind of inspired me to go ahead and make the hummus. So you'll need quite a bit of tahini. You'll need 3/4 of a cup at room temperature. So if you keep it in the fridge, be sure and set it out and let it get up to room temperature. And then lemon juice, olive oil. We want olive oil, lemon juice, parsley, paprika, and ground cumin. And that's pretty much it. Just the chickpeas, salt, tahini, lemon juice, baking soda, olive oil, parsley, paprika, and ground cumin. And you need a few tools. You'll need a food processor. I got this one for Christmas. Another reason I'm inspired to try to make hummus. And you'll need a rubber spatula for scraping down the food processor and some measuring tools. So again, I'm going to go over the ingredients. And like I said, this is a 16-ounce package of chickpeas. So I'm just going to double everything and make a double batch. But the recipe I'm giving you is for 8 ounces of chickpeas. So that's 8 ounces or 227 grams of dried chickpeas, 2.5 tablespoons of kosher salt, and that's for the soaking water. So you put this in 10 cups of water with 2.5 tablespoons of salt dissolved in that water. And then later you'll also need another teaspoon of salt to add to the actual hummus. A half a teaspoon of baking soda, and that is what is boiling in 10 cups of water on the stove right now. So that is your cooking water, baking soda. 3/4 a cup of the tahini at room temperature, and then 3.5 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then we have the olive oil, parsley, cumin, and paprika, where you're having this is just garnish. And also, you're supposed to set aside a couple tablespoons of these after they're cooked, but before they go into the food processor. Those are also going to be for garnish. So, yeah, just the parsley, paprika, cumin, and a little handful of the cooked whole chickpeas will be the garnish, along with some extra virgin olive oil. So that's everything you need. It's quite simple. Of course, you do need the food processor. But the thing is, this takes a while. You have to soak the chickpeas overnight. It takes a full 45 to 50 minutes to cook them. So going over what I've already done, I've just soaked them overnight in the salted water, drained and enriched them, and then I'm preparing my cooking water with 10 cups of water plus a half a teaspoon of baking soda. And when that comes up to boil, I will just dump these in there and cook them for about 45 to 50 minutes. I'll bring it up to a simmer, then reduce to medium heat and cook until the skins are falling off and the chickpeas are very tender, about 45 to 50 minutes. And then you drain them, reserving 3/4 a cup of the cooking water. So this is everything you got to do just to get the chickpeas ready. And this recipe is supposed to be prepared warm. So you don't want to cook the chickpeas and then chill them and prepare it later. Part of the lightness and fluffiness of this hummus recipe comes from processing the cooked chickpeas while they are still steamy warm. So that's everything you need and how to get the first stages ready, and we'll check on our boiling water. Okay, it looks like our water's just about ready to boil. It's at a little bit of a simmer. We'll wait and let it come up to a full rolling boil before we add our cleaned and drained, soaked overnight chickpeas. So, okay, this is more like it. There we go. Full rolling bowl. Now I'm going to add the chickpeas to the water. Okay, now that they're in there, give them a quick little stir. And I'm going to bring them back up to the simmer. I'm going to leave it on high until they begin to simmer again. And then I will turn it down to kind of a between medium and medium low and let them simmer for 45 to 50 minutes. So I'll cover this until they get to simmering, then I'll turn it all the way down to medium low. Well, in between medium and medium low. Once it starts simmering, keep it on high until then. And then these will simmer, stirring occasionally for 45 to 50 minutes. Okay, so I got it at kind of a nice little simmer holding here. And it wound up being between medium high and medium is what I'm cooking it on. And just a quick tip, if you didn't know this, you probably do. To keep a pot from boiling over, you can put a wooden spoon across it like this, and that will keep it from boiling over. I don't really know why that works, but it does. Just in case you didn't know, you can just leave it like that and it won't boil over. This probably won't anyway because it's on a low simmer. And, I don't really know why it's foaming like this. I'm assuming it's because it has the baking soda in there. But, yeah, I've not cooked chickpeas like this before, so I'm assuming that's baking soda, and that is normal. So we'll continue simmering now for the full 50 minutes. Okie dokie, these have cooked for the full 50 minutes. And the instructions said that the skins should be coming off. And you can see that they are losing their little skins, and that they should be very tender. And I smashed one of these with a fork, and it is very, very tender. So I'm going to call these fully cooked. And you can see a lot of the foam has kind of went away. So before I drain these, I'm going to dip out the cooking liquid that I need for later. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to make a nice double batch like I was hoping, because I don't know if my food processor will hold that much. So we'll see. I may have to do it in 2 batches. Okay, almost. There we go. All right, so I have reserved the cooking liquid, and now I am going to drain these, and we'll do the next step. Okay, so they're all drained, and I'm just letting them sit here for a minute. You can see they're very hot, to make sure all the water's coming out. And then I'm going to reserve a few tablespoons of the cooked chickpeas as a garnish. That's what was suggested. So there are those. And now I'm going to transfer this into the food processor. If it will all fit, I may have to do 2 batches. Okay, yeah, it looks like I'm going to have to do it in 2 batches. So the 8 ounces at a time is the best recipe. Doing the double batch, you have to do 2 batches. Anyway, so like I said, I've got everything measured up for a double batch, but I'll just use half of it. And the ingredients that I gave you are for the single batch, the 8 ounces of chickpeas. So, yeah, I'll have to do 2 batches here. So we'll get that started. Okay, so I am adding 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, and I will process this for 3 minutes. Now, the instructions were pretty clear. Just a second, you guys. There we go. Okay, the instructions were pretty clear that you want to process this for 3 full minutes and set a timer and do the whole time. So I'm going to get that going, and then I'll set my timer and come back in 3 minutes. Okay, that was a full 3 minutes of processing. It seemed like a long time. And I did stop and real quickly scrape down the sides 1 time during the 3 minutes. So this is what we've got, really thick texture here. And now at this step, and it's still very hot, it's steamy hot. So at this step, we are adding 3/4 of a cup of the tahini, roasted sesame seed paste. So I'm just going to have to kind of eyeball this here, reserving back a little bit because, like I said, I was going to make a double batch, but okay, so we put that in, and then we process for 1 minute. Okay, that's been 1 minute, and it is obviously more light and fluffy than it was before. So it says to scrape down the outside again. Okay. And now it says with the machine running, add the cooking liquid and the lemon juice. So that's what I'll be doing next. I'll take my little thing off here. Get it going. Get my lemon juice over here. And then process until combined. So I guess I'll just kind of have to look at it. So I'm going to start it, then add the cooking liquid and the lemon juice. Okay. I think it needs to go a little bit longer. It doesn't look fully combined. So I'm going to let this process just a little bit more. Okay, at this point I am supposed to taste and season with salt. So let's give it a taste. I think it's good. I think that is good. I don't think it needs any more salt. It's very tasty. It's warm. It's super smooth and creamy. So now I'm going to transfer this to a bowl and show you how the recommended garnish is. Okay, so here it is. It is so super duper light and fluffy. It's just whipped and gorgeous. So I'm going to show you the recommended serving. So you get you some there in your little bowl, and you get a spoon and you kind of do like this, so there'll be little places to hold the olive oil. And then you get some of these chickpeas that we reserved, and you kind of sprinkle them over the top. Just a few. And then we're going to do about a tablespoon of olive oil drizzle. I'm using the California Olive Ranch extra virgin olive oil. It's really good. So we just want a little bit on there like that. Then we're going to put ground cumin, paprika, and parsley. And here is our beautiful bowl of homemade hummus. And I mean, this stuff is still, I don't know if you can see, it's steaming. It is still very warm. I'm going to have some with these pita chips. Stacy's Simply Naked pita chips. And you get a little olive oil, and you get a little bit of that chickpea on there. Delicious. Thanks for joining me. If you like hummus, you're going to love this. If you're not a big fan of hummus, you may like this kind. This is so delicious. I highly recommend it. Thanks for joining me, you guys. I'll try to put the information in the description, at least the ingredients. And you can find this recipe. This is the recipe that I got from Christopher Kimball's Milk Street. And it's the perfect creamy hummus. And I thank you guys for joining me. Like I said, this doesn't take a lot of ingredients. It's really just what you see here. It's not hard to make, but it does take a little time. This isn't something you're going to make just on the spur of the minute. Like anything that's worth having, it's worth waiting for. So thanks for joining me and helping me for the first time make delicious homemade hummus. Y'all be sweet.